Hello, everybody. Ted Huntington here with another author interview sponsored by Women's Rights Publishing and Author Services. Today, I'm chatting with the inspiring Kylie-Anne Evans. Please like and follow our videos on YouTube and support these fantastic educational interviews by becoming a Patreon patron. Hello, Kylie-Anne. How are you today?
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So you started out with your first book was Born to Survive, which I think is a fitting title for an interview sponsored by Women's Rights Publishing and Author Services. Talk about that book and your story.
Okay, I started writing my book 4 years ago now, and it was part of the Me Too movement. And I started with a 5-page, I guess, essay, and then it sort of snowballed into a 158-page book about my life that went from birth to the age of 44.
Wow. Giving some details about Born to Survive. Obviously, there's some sort of inspiring story there.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was actually sexually assaulted by a family member, and I went through depression and anxiety, thoughts of wanting to kill myself. I ended up running away from home and living in several different refuges. I'd actually lost a friend when I was living in Sydney to suicide, and I decided I was going to get my life back together again, try and work out how I could, I guess, keep going when everything was not very good. And I ended up meeting my very first boyfriend, and I got pregnant to him, but I lost my baby when I was 19, when my baby was 19 weeks. When I was younger, about 14, I actually got pregnant from the guy that raped me, and I ended up losing her at 22 weeks. As I said, I tried to go and do the things that I needed to do to make sure that I could keep going, but it just got too hard at one point, and I ended up trying to kill myself and heard Elton John's song I'm Still Standing come on the radio, and I sat there and I listened to it, and then after that incident I went and rang Lifeline, and they gave me tips to continue on with life, but it didn't feel like I needed to be here anymore. I didn't want to hurt myself. I just wanted the pain to stop. So that's kind of why I'm still here.
Wow, I certainly commend you on putting that story to paper and publishing Born to Survive. So was it a cathartic experience? You know, what made you decide, okay, I'm going to write this as a story to help yourself, to help others going through a similar situation?
It was around the time I decided to write and publish was when a lady and her children, Hannah Clark in Brisbane, was actually murdered by her partner. And I felt that enough was enough. Something needs to change. Something has to give, I guess. And if my story can help people out there, man, woman, or child, know that they're not alone and that somebody can actually help them, and that they don't need to be afraid to speak up, but maybe it'll save a life.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty powerful, and I'm sure that the message has done wonders for anyone that's read your story. So yeah,
Yes, I've had a few people say to me, "Thank you. I didn't realize I was in an abusive relationship," or "Thank you. You helped me get out of an abusive relationship."
well, so do you feel like it has been cathartic that, having published the book, it's kind of helped you overcome the
It has,
trauma that you had to go through?
yes, it helped me deal with a lot of issues that I hadn't dealt with in the past, and I was actually able to process it as well.
Yeah, most of the authors that I interview have published numerous books, and it's rare that I interview an author that doesn't have a huge library of publications to their name. But yours is such an inspiring story. I really wanted to include your story in our series of interviews. So thank you for joining me. Did you always want to be a writer? Or did you become an author in order to tell your story?
When I was younger, I wrote a poem, and I'd written a book called Walter the Worm, which I've now actually changed to Wiley the Worm. But I didn't really I'd never had a very good school life. My schooling was pretty pathetic, really. So I struggle with punctuation and grammar and stuff like that. But I it's like I've felt that I had to do this. This is something that needed to be done.
Yeah, it's kind
So
of a calling, like you had a calling.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So how are you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm doing really well. I'm getting married next year.
Oh,
I
yay.
have
Congratulations.
thank you. I have 3 adult children that are doing really well, and life is really good at the moment. It's really good.
Well, that's good. Planning any follow-up books?
Yes, I'm actually publishing a book next weekend called Murder by Moonlight.
Oh, very cool. What's that about?
It's about a murder that happened in a small town, and I guess it's a bit like CSI meets The Bush.
CSI Australia.
Yes.
Oh, very nice. So you said you've struggled with grammar and punctuation. Do you have an editor? How do you go through the proofreading and editing process?
I did actually have an editor with my first book, Born to Survive, and that didn't work out very well. So I actually had somebody else go through my book and edit it for me. But this book, I've actually found a application called Grammarly.
Very popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
it does help a lot with proofreading. Do you have
it does.
beta readers, other people to review in addition to Grammarly?
I've got a few people that are reading my book just to see how it feels and how it sounds and whether it's consistent, which is a big thing, being consistent.
Right, right. You don't want to have any holes, and it's good to get feedback from a variety of different people because they all kind of have different types of feedback that they're going to give you. Some will be real nitpicky about a comma or punctuation, and some will look at the big picture. And sometimes with a beta reader, they just love your story and they're like, "Oh, I don't have any changes." You really don't want those beta readers. You want the feedback, right?
Yeah, whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad, you need feedback.
Yeah. Do you happen to have your book handy? I should have asked you this before our interview started, to give you a little chance for a sales pitch.
No, I don't actually have it yet. Sorry.
Oh, well, I will post links to to your books, and to your author page, whatever we can, to try and promote your books that are out there, or your book that's out there. Um, any parting words of advice for somebody that wants to get their story out there or wants to begin a writing career?
um, I would say just start with a word. So whether it's hi or whatever, just start with a word and it'll flow.
That's right. That's what's the Ernest Hemingway saying, there's nothing to writing but sitting and bleeding. I know that's not exactly what it is. I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of it. Just sit down and do it.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, Kylie-Anne, I really appreciate your time. I commend you again for putting your traumatic life. I'm glad you've turned things around and things are looking great. Congrats again on the pending marriage.
Thank you.
And
I'm
thank you.
excited.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad you should be. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.